Welcome to No Stats, what we call it, how we see it.
Back again with another one, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Seth, we had some movement in the last couple weeks with a lot of coaches around the NBA. Couple ones I'm not too fond of, but we'll get into that. But we had Monty Williams to the Detroit Pistons. We
Mm-hmm.
had Nick Nurse to the Philadelphia 76ers. We had a
Right.
real solid assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors, Adrian Griffin. He picked up the Milwaukee Bucks job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm missing one more.
The one you don't like.
Oh yeah,
Frank
Frank
Vogel.
Vogel to the Phoenix Suns. Man. So
Yeah.
before I rail off, I want to know what is some of your thoughts on some of these coaching moves. Which one you like the best? Which one you're the least fond of? And I just want to hear some of your thoughts on this.
Um. So the one I think that I don't really know which one I like the best, but I know the one that I'm most interested in is Nick Nurse to the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a team that, I mean, I think they had a shot to beat the Celtics, right? And you need to get Embiid to be a little more aggressive. You need to get him to be a little more aggressive in the paint. You got some pieces. You got Tyrese Maxey, and I feel like this is one of the teams that's on the verge of winning the championship, right? And they get a coach who's won a championship to fill in, right? So you're getting two almost proven commodities to try to get you over the hump. Like this is that hump project. So they bring in Nick Nurse, who I like. I don't know how good he'll be. I'm interested to see his philosophy when he comes in. Is he going to be able to? Because coaching is all about relationships, and communication with these players. Because it's hard to tell a star player who just won an MVP, I need you to be in the paint, right? So how can you do that? In an emotional intelligence way where you can be like, listen, this is how we're going to get over this next hump, and battle and balance those personalities, and also bring Tyrese Maxey along because I think he needs to take that step. I feel like James Harden's out the door, but if not, then the more the merrier. But I think Tyrese Maxey needs to take that next step instead of him depending on James, because we've seen James will give you 40 and then he'll give you a bad game, and then when he gives you 40, the Sixers will win in those games against Boston. So let's see if we can get Tyrese Maxey to replace that 40-point production, or at least 30.
Be
And then
that
get
25
Embiid to
point a
play.
game
Because
guy.
Embiid was supposed to dominate Al Horford, the 45-year-old self, in that paint. Like, he was supposed to put him in the box and barbecue chicken, as Shaq would say. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe Doc Rivers couldn't say it. Maybe Embiid didn't want to do it. So that's going to be a challenge. The other one that I'm interested in is Adrian Griffin to the Bucks, because for him to get that head coaching job, that means he did really well in that interview, and it's something that they like about him. A lot of those pieces are in place. I know Brook Lopez is a free agent, and they have that championship pedigree already, right? So that's an easier job to walk into because they got one, and you got maybe the best player in the world on your team. So that's another one I'm interested to see and how if he, because you got some coaches who come in and they want to put their blueprint down. They want to put their imprint on the team and change things all up. This is what we're going to do. And then you got some coaches who just going to, listen, what y'all been doing, I'm here. I'm just going to make a few tweaks and see how it goes. But let me hear what you think. I know you're going to mention this Phoenix Suns and Frank Vogel.
We're gonna definitely get to that. I wanted to
like?
piggyback off of your Nick Nurse take. I think you hit the nail on the head with I'm interested to see his philosophy and how he motivates guys like Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid to get those guys going so the Sixers can make that deep playoff run. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm like all for it. But defensively, and as far as like that coach, you gotta have that character, that dominance, that voice in the locker room to have those guys follow. I'm interested to see how Nick Nurse goes about this, on how he controls the locker room, how he gets guys to buy into this stuff, and I know he, having a new voice that benefits that. But that's the most thing I'm interested in. Nick Nurse doesn't seem like a hard-nosed guy to me.
And that's maybe what they need.
Yeah, like you need someone that has that aggressive
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, that voice. So Nick Nurse could be that. So we only can see. And you mentioned the Adrian Griffin, man.
Real quick. Is Tobias Harris still in the contract for the Sixers?
I think so.
I ain't even gonna dive into it. You know how I feel about that.
I was about to be like, don't say it.
I ain't gonna say it.
They had to cut Doc off the books to finish
just to pay him.
Man.
What? Bro, it's crazy, man.
Oh, man.
But go ahead. Adrian Griffin.
Adrian Griffin, man, coming from part of that Toronto staff that, I know they had a pretty down year, but they basically have been staying afloat since they won the title in 2019. And, to bring that product over there to Milwaukee, giving him the keys, a championship caliber squad, with arguably the best player in the world, then Giannis. No disrespect to the the Jokic's of the world, but
Giannis
I'm
already
excited.
did what Jokic is trying to do.
Yeah, that's a fact. Jokic is coming. Jokic is coming.
Yeah, he coming. Absolutely.
But I'm excited to see. I look at this as kind of like the Darvin Ham with the Lakers situation. A guy that doesn't really have no head coaching resume, but has like the character and the voice, and he has a pretty solid background. I think his daughter plays Division I basketball. His son plays for the Hawks. So there's some Griffins hanging on. Yeah, yep. So those, they got a good that Griffin name is bouncing around the league. Got a lot of prestige behind it. So I'm excited for him to get this role and see what he can do. Now, before I get to the Suns, I want to talk about the Monty Williams situation real fast.
Yes.
He did get a bag, that 5 year, $78 million.
Highest paid coach in NFL history. NBA history, right?
Woo! That's a bag. I don't know about this one. It's like all of them got their question marks, but this one I'm like, what direction is Detroit going in? You know what I mean?
Can I stop you? Hold that thought. If they would have got the number 1 pick in the draft lottery and could have landed Wemby, would you like the pick up more?
Yeah and no. I like it, but I would like it because they would have a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama. But it's the team that they have intact. You know what I mean? You have Cade Cunningham, who went down with injury last season, but was playing good. He was around like 25-5 on the year. But then you go out and draft Jaden Ivey, who was hitting the rookie wall a lot this year. Then you have a truckload of fucking bigs and Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman, and Jalen Duran. And I'm like, what direct? Monty could be phenomenal. But it's like the team aspect. I'm like, what are y'all putting out there on the floor?
Yeah.
I don't know what draft pick they got. I don't know what are they gonna draft. Knowing 3? Them, they're probably gonna fuck around and draft a fucking point guard, which you probably don't fucking need.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I'm more skeptical on this one, not even from the Monty standpoint, but just from the roster standpoint. So we'll see how things go more towards the draft and stuff like that. But I know Monty is gonna have these guys, running and buying in. It's just if you got the right product out there.
That's my thing, and that's why I like it a little more. I'm guessing than you do. I just think that Detroit needs some culture. Like Detroit needs somebody to come in there and get these young guys to play for something. Like I feel like a lot of the Pistons players are out there just hooping, right? They know they're not going to be good, even though the coach, the previous coaches might have said, let's go ahead. We got to win the championship. We got a lot of talent. It's different when a coach makes you believe that you can win. And I think Monty is relatable to players. I think he's beloved by players. I think a lot of people like Monty Williams, and I just think he'll bring a culture in there that will help Cade Cunningham, that'll help Marvin Bagley. Because I like Marvin Bagley's game. For some reason, he just hasn't been able to, step into the high draft pick. What was he, like 5th, 3rd?
Bro, I think he was 2. To be honest with you,
was he 2?
I'm gonna have to look back at that.
Yeah, they do need to get off of one of those big men. If you're going Wiseman, get off of Durant. Even though he probably a backup center in the NBA now anyway.
But
they
to
just
be
need
honest
to find
with you,
identity.
I would trade Wiseman.
Yeah. But I like Monty. Just try to build some culture. Like I said, if you can get Cade Cunningham into a star, right, and then maybe you can get you gotta hit in this draft somehow.
He has to. They have to.
So yeah, it's a project. So they paid him. He got paid to do all of this work and handle all these responsibilities. So it'd be interesting to see where Detroit is in the next 2-3 years.
I like, man. All right, for the cream of the crop, right. Frank Vogel to the Phoenix Suns. I'm not gonna say I'm not a Frank Vogel fan. What he was doing with them Indiana Pacers during that Miami Heat era made me a fan of him. His defensive philosophy on what he does, but if you can't, and what he was doing with, I know he won that bubble title with LeBron and them, but I just don't see him as that coach for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and I could be wrong. On the flip side of it, I could see him having these guys buy into a defensive culture. He probably can, light a fire on the Aiton's ass. But I'm just interested to see what type of offensive strategy and game plan he brings to the table. And I know we can say, like, all right, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker don't really need an offensive system. They're still gonna have CP3. These guys can figure it out. But if that's the case, we could have just fucking kept Monty Williams. You know what I'm saying?
That's on the top of my head. What is Frank Vogel bringing in that Monty Williams lacked? What is he better than Monty Williams at? That was my first initial thought. It was like, I feel like you got worse at head coach. And maybe I was going to ask you, because you probably knew this better than I do, did Durant and Booker and Chris Paul have a say in who the next coach? Because now I feel like a lot of these players want the coach to get out of the way a little bit. A lot of these players feel like they can do it. And I know KD and Kyrie was talking about that in Brooklyn. So I was wondering if KD, management and ownership, because they did get a new owner in Phoenix. So I wonder if they went to KD and Book, like, listen, hey, what y'all want? And they said, listen, worry about defense. We'll handle the offensive side of things. Because that's the only logical explanation. Because you don't get better.
That's a good ass point, bro. I don't see Phoenix not going to them. I mean, because at the end of the day, the NBA is all about windows, and you got to capitalize within those championship windows. So I wouldn't see why they wouldn't go to them like, hey, these are the people that's on the market. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think will fit here? But I don't know, man. I'm hoping Frank goes in there and he does a phenomenal job and, get this team moving in the right direction.
Supposedly he's friends. Supposedly he's close friends with Coach Simmons from Marywood when I was there.
For real? He looked like he cool with Coach Simmons.
That's what he said.